Let's talk to one of our callers. Colson in Texas wants some advice on how to properly respond when a friend comes out to you. Colson, you're on with the three Y ending names, Johnny, Rudy, and Christy.
We've got just a few minutes, Colson, but I'd love to hear from you. What's on your mind?
Sure. So I was recently faced with the situation where an old friend of mine came out to me as bisexual. And I'd like to think that I responded well, as you know, of course. But I basically just wanted to get your thoughts. This is a little bit less, I guess, dense of a topic as the previous ones on the show today. But just your thoughts, just general advice on, you know, as an atheist or as a, you know, just a secular humanist or as a decent person, when a friend of yours comes out to you, I mean, what's the best way to respond? I think my response was, I wouldn't say like apathy, but it was something like, "Oh, that's great, cool."
Yeah.
But I would. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, but go ahead.
Oh, I would say, as somebody who has come out to many friends and family members, I've had some responses that were just like, "All right, yeah," and I've had some responses that were like, "Cool, I love you. It's fine." I would say it depends on the way your friend came out to you. That is appropriate. Mm-hmm. Because if your friend is really nervous and making a really big deal about it, the apathetic response is probably not the one they needed. They probably needed like the full spectrum of validation and like all the support, because if it was that nerve-wracking in their head, they were probably expecting a really bad response. So kind of, I guess it's like meet the person where they seem to be at. If most of the time that I've come out to people, it's been pretty casual. Like when I decided to start using they, them pronouns, I texted a few friends and was like, "Hey, I'm non-binary. I'm using they, them pronouns." And most of them just texted back like, "Okay, I love you." And that was fine, you know. That's all I needed from them was like, okay, it was like affirmation and confirmation that this wasn't going to change our relationship in any way. But you know, when I was a teenager and I came out to my parents, it was at a family worship evening. And I was like, "Okay, guys, I gotta tell you something at some point." And they were like, "Tell us right now." And then my mom was like, "Oh my God, are you pregnant?" And I was like, "No, it's a good thing. It's fine." And then when I was like, "I'll just wait till the end to tell you guys." And they're like, "Well, no, you got to tell us now. You've brought it up." And I was like, "Okay, I'm bisexual." And they were like, "I thought you said it was a good thing." And I'm like, "Well, it's better than being pregnant. I said that in response to you saying that maybe I was pregnant. So yeah, it's a good thing as opposed to being pregnant at 16. So right. Yeah." But I'm only telling those stories just to say, as somebody who has come out in various circumstances and various levels of anxiety, my family responded to that just by being like, "Well, let's move on and never address that again." And even though it wasn't like opposition, it still hurt because it wasn't the support that I needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
of course.
I'll just say very quickly, Colson, as we're trying to make time for one last caller before we wrap up tonight, that it's just validate. You know, it makes sense to see this as like sort of a non-issue. Be like, "Oh, okay, cool. I didn't necessarily care," but you want to give it the amount of weight that they give it. If this is somebody who is expressing it in a tone that lets you know that this made them feel very vulnerable, you want to acknowledge those feelings. You want to validate, "Hey, I can appreciate that might have been difficult for you to share," or, "Man, you might feel really exhausted from having to share this over and over," or, "Wow, you may have had some experiences where people were really shitty about this. So it makes sense that it would be kind of difficult here. Who wouldn't be struggling with these things? But if they express that they're fine, then I think that you can share that you're fine. Ultimately, it becomes about recognizing the emotions that they're experiencing and just letting them know, human being to human being, co-regulating with them as members of this species, that whatever it is that they're feeling makes sense, that you get it, that you may not necessarily exactly understand what they're going through, but that they came to those emotions through reasonable means, that their experiences dictate how they're feeling right now, and that however they're feeling, you see them as they are. Just validate, and let them know that, yeah, you're safe with me. We're good. I don't necessarily care, but I care to the extent that you care, or I'm concerned to the extent that you're concerned, and just join them, meet them where they're at, and co-regulate in that way.
Can I say something?
So much, all of you, and
sorry, Colson.
Sure, yeah.
That's great. I hadn't thought about it from Drudy's or Christy's perspective, because my response would be like, okay, cool. But situational awareness is important, right? If you're seeing the person having an emotional response to it, if you're a good friend, you want to meet the person where they're at and make sure that you're a good support system. I mean, if you tease each other a lot, you might choose to find a way to show your support with like friendly, I don't know, some way that's supportive, but you don't want to make them feel alien either, right? Because they came out as something that they didn't present themselves out as before. But yeah, a friend of mine told me not too long ago that he was bisexual. I was like, oh, all right. He wasn't nervous about it either. I was like, oh, okay. And then like the gear started turning. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And then we went back to teasing each other about everything in the whole wide world, I mean, and nothing changed. He's got a friend here. Nothing going to change about something like that, Tease him about something else. And if I gauge that he wants to be teased about, I don't even know what to be teased about, then I'll wait for him to take the lead on it. Right?
Yeah, I will say, Johnny, I make gay jokes about myself all the time, so my friends know that it's okay to also do that.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate you calling in. You have a great night.
Yeah.
You too.
Thank you.